But of course, you're never going to see this on the news. That's the thing. That's why I have a show, because you're never going to see Zelensky telling the truth. You're only going to see him when he's lying. So that's when they put him on the news, when he's lying. I don't know why people don't know this, but so Glenn Decent tweets out, Zelensky in March of 2022. That's right as the war started.
Which we covered. I remember this.
This is before the United States and the UK sabotaged the peace agreement. This is what Zelensky said. There are those in the West who don't mind a long war because it would mean exhausting Russia, even if this means the demise of Ukraine and comes at the cost of Ukraine lives. So that's, I know when I said that, what happened to me, what happened to me was I got my phone hacked.
Yeah, like right after you said it in a thing.
When I said that at the UN, I said basically the same thing at the UN. I got my phone hacked with Pegasus by either the CIA, the Ukraine, or Mossad.
And then you got invited to Bohemian Grove.
And then I got invited to Bohemian Grove. Yes. Let's listen to him say it. So everyone has varied interests, he says. There are those in the West who don't mind a long war. Keep in mind, this is like a week after the war broke out. He knows the game, that the people in the West, meaning the UK and the United States, they want a long war. He's saying it. There are those in the West who don't mind a long war. They don't care. They want this to be a long war. Why? He's going to tell you. Because it would mean exhausting Russia, even if this means the demise of Ukraine. So he knows this, which is why he signed a peace deal immediately with Russia that the United States and the UK then sabotaged. So he knew this. He's telling the people right there. He's telling the truth. This is Zelensky telling the truth. The people in the West want a long war, even if it screws the Ukraine. They don't care about the Ukraine. They just care about hurting Russia. Okay, here he keeps going. And comes at the cost of Ukrainian lives. So there he says it. Even if it means the demise of Ukraine and it comes at the cost of Ukrainian life. There he was saying it 5 seconds after the war started. He knew what the game was. So that tells you he knows what the game is still. This is definitely in the interest of some countries to keep the war going. There it is. What else? I don't know what else this tell you. So exactly what I didn't know why we never found this video. I can't believe it took till 2025 for me to find this video. Nice job, Glenn Decent. I don't know where he found it. But of course, you're never going to see this on the news. That's the thing. That's why I have a show, because you're never going to see Zelensky telling the truth. You're only going to see him when he's lying. So that's when they put him on the news, when he's lying. But when he tells the truth, like, yeah, there's this war is in the interest of other countries, not Ukraine. Ukraine is going to be slaughtered, and it's going to be our demise. And the United States and the West wants this war because it will deplete Russia. They don't care that it's going to be the demise of Ukraine, which it is. It's going to millions of Ukrainians are going to be dead. They don't care.
Also, Russia's not weaker. What are you talking about?
And that's right. And Russia's not weaker because of this. So, and here the truth comes out. What does the United States want? Senator Graham, I like the path we're on with U.S. weapons and money. Ukraine will fight Russia to the last Ukrainians. You want to hear him say it? Here it is.
I like the structural path we're on here. As long as we help Ukraine with the weapons they need and the economic support, they will fight to the last person.
There it is.
I like big butts, and I cannot lie. I like it when Ukrainians die.
So that's Lindsey Graham being a salesman for the military-industrial complex, because the military-industrial complex wants this war. The economic hitmen want this war, and he's there to do that. I like this. He goes, I like it. This is good.
Like the structure,
and then the Ukrainians are going to fight. They're all going to be slaughtered. They're going to fight to the last Ukrainian. Good for them.
Jimmy, you don't understand structure. I
Yeah.
like it. And I like them minerals.
The United States and the UK sabotaged the peace deal because they don't care about Ukraine. Who said that? A former NATO advisor said that. Former Swiss intelligence officer and NATO advisor Jacques Baud on the next phase of the Russian-Ukraine war and new allegations that the US and UK undermined the peace deal that could have ended it. The West aim is not the victory of Ukraine, it's the defeat of Russia. There it is right there. The problem is that nobody cares about Ukraine. You know who does? The stupid asswipes in my Facebook feed. The stupid asswipe shit-lib Hollywood morons on Twitter with the Ukraine flag in their butt. They don't know that they're, again, being manipulated into supporting another fucking war.
You know who still has a Ukraine flag, Jimmy? Richard Spencer, the famous Charlottesville bad alt-right guy.
Yeah.
So your friends in Richard Spencer have the same Twitter.
So there it is. There he says, the problem is nobody cares about Ukraine. We have just instrumentalized Ukraine for the purpose of U.S. strategic interests, not even European interests. The fact is that you had 3 attempts to have an agreement so far between Russia and Ukraine. The first one started at the request of Zelensky on the 25th of February. So just one day after the start of the offensive, and Zelensky asked to have negotiations with the Russians. And you had a first round of negotiations that started at the Belarus border, and this was stopped, in fact, by the European Union. So, wow, what a stunning revelation. The European Union, 2 days after the Zelensky request, the European Union came with the first package of weapons. That was a package of 450 million euros for weapons, and with the idea that it should not be negotiated with Vladimir Putin. We should just fight. And in March, you had exactly the same scenario. Zelensky approached the Russians with this offer, and 2 days after he made his offer to the Russians, by the way, the European Union came again, exactly the same thing as the first time. Wow. Again, the European Union came with the second package, a 500 million euro for weapons. And in addition to the Boris Johnson called Zelensky to ask him to withdraw his offer. Otherwise, all the support would be cut. And Boris Johnson came to Kiev a few days later and reiterated what he just said. That means no negotiations. Otherwise, we cut all offers. And he came with something like 50 million. I may be wrong on this, but I think he came with a new offer for weapons, and that was reported by Ukrainian media. So they're telling Zelensky, you cannot negotiate an end to this war because they don't want an end to the war. Zelensky wanted an end to the war. Guess who didn't? The United States. Ukrainian sources said explicitly that Boris Johnson and the West basically prevented a peace agreement. So that's not an invention from some Putin partisan here in the West. That's also what the Ukrainians felt. And just a few days after that, Boris Johnson came unexpectedly in Kiev. And again, in a very famous press conference, he said explicitly, no negotiations with the Russians. We have to fight. There is no room for negotiation with Russia. So on 3 occasions, in fact, the West prevented any negotiations with the Russians. And in April, that was probably the most developed offer by Zelensky. It was a very uncomfortable offer. It included neutrality of Ukraine, meaning being neutral between the West and Russia, the neutrality of Ukraine, and the station, meaning Ukraine would not join NATO. The neutrality of Ukraine and the stationing of troops under supervision of external powers, including Russia. So it was a very extensive agreement, actually, and the Russians were very positive about this agreement. But again, it's as you just said, it didn't move ahead. No, it's clear, and I think Lindsey Graham also said at a press conference, he said that the Ukrainians have to fight to the last Ukrainian. The collective West pressed Zelensky not to negotiate with Russia because the ultimate goal of this whole affair is, in fact, what we have, as we can see described in those publications of the RAND Corporation of 2019, which is unbalancing Russia or overextending Russia, or I don't have exactly the titles in mind, but 2 publications of the RAND Corporation. They had this planned out way before. And that's exactly, by the way, if you read what you have in those publications, you have exactly the description of what is going on right now, including the problem between Azerbaijan and Armenia, the inclusion of Finland and Sweden into NATO. Everything is there. Everything is there. So again, these are corporations running our foreign policy, and it's always more war. So the very idea of, let's say, the United States objective since at least 2019 is to isolate Russia and to isolate Russia from the international community. So that's what they're doing. They're just misusing Ukraine to that aim.
How do they maintain doing this over and over and over and over again to people that are older than me that should know better? There's like, if I can figure it out, does nobody notice this? That they got one move they do, which is this?
This is the one move, and they do it. They won't stop doing it. And so Americans, can you believe all the fucking morons, Kurt, that you know?
I told you,
that
NK,
you know.
Ultra,
Wait a minute, that
real.
you know in comedy. That you know in comedy.
Yeah, I can believe it. Of course,
that
I
were
can.
for the Ukraine war. After Iraq, after Libya.
You know what's disturbing? People that I wouldn't have thought were morons. You know, people I like talking to that are complete trauma-based mind control slaves based on trauma that's so lame, like Trump got elected.
Yeah.
You know, and they've never recovered inside from their Obama dreams, never came to terms with Obama, didn't do what he said. Just like a bunch of Trump people are not going to come to terms with that. It's the same goddamn scam. But how do you fall for it forever? That's what I don't get. You could fool me for many years. I'm not smarter than everybody, you know? Like, how do you trick some people all the time?
It's amazing to me. And so I just wanted to share this with you, just in case you still weren't sure about the Ukraine war. Send this to somebody who isn't. Send this to somebody who still believes in the Ukraine war, who still thinks we're fighting evil and the Ukrainians need our support. So I don't know how stupid you could be. After 20 years of Afghanistan, you still fall for this game? After Iraq twice, you still fall? After they put Al-Qaeda guy in charge of Syria, you still fall for this?
You just blank out. Go talk about football. Genius. Just blank out. I'm telling you, up close watching what people react to. Remember ISIS, the thing that was bad that they're still talking about like it lives in America secretly?
Yes.
It's the president of Syria. So what are you talking about? Oh, Muslims, we got to worry. That's how you know James Lindsay's an active liar. He starts talking about Muslim. I kid you not. Sleeper cells. Are you shitting me?
Not shitting you. All right, over to Steph. Hey, come see us do comedy, and we're going to be in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and then we'll be in Burbank, California the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. Everybody's off work. Go to Flappers Comedy Club, and we'll see you in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. That's a Saturday. And then on January 11th, we'll be in Waikiki, Hawaii. It's a beautiful room, the Blue Note. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. Make your vacation plans now. Come see us. Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.